A very good morning everyone. Today we are going to study the Unit 5 of our course AGCon 102. Herein we will be studying about utility theory. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Sanjay, Assistant Professor in the Department of Agricultural Economics of CCS HIU HESAR. So let's begin. These are the contents we will be studying in this particular class. We will be finishing all of them. What is utility theory? What are its assumptions and the two laws of it and their importance and some limitations. So let's begin. Utility theory, what is it and why do we study it? It studies the consumer behavior of how a consumer makes decisions regarding his or her purchase. Whenever he or she goes to the market for buying things, how do they make decisions? Because they have an inherent feeling that they want to get maximum satisfaction from their purchases. So how do they make these decisions to get maximum satisfaction? There are two methods of studying the consumer behavior of how they do it. First one is cardinal approach and second one is ordinal approach. Cardinal means countable, literal meaning is ordinal means rankable or comparable. So, in the cardinal approach, which was given by Alfred Marshall, the utility, the satisfaction we get from consuming or buying things is quantifiable. That means we can give it a number, a direct number. The two laws that we are going to study are here are law of diminishing marginal utility and law of equimarginal utility. These two are used in different cases. We will be studying in the further slides, in the coming slides. In case of ordinal approach, as I said, ordinal means rankable. It was given by Hicks and Allen, wherein utility by that we get by consuming different goods is rankable. We can say that utility that we got from consuming an apple is greater than that of we get from mango, or equal or lesser, but we cannot tell by how much. By how much we cannot say, but just we can say is if it is greater, lesser or equal. Utility is rankable and also we can say comparable. In here we study this thing by indifference curve technique. This is not the part of your this particular course. We'll be studying them in the coming years. For this class we will be studying these two laws. So let's begin. As I said, there are two laws, law of diminishing marginal utility and law of equimarginal utility. Law of diminishing marginal utility is also called as law of life because it is applicable on all the things we consume. Of how much should we spend or when to stop spending more, when to stop buying more. Okay, this is what this law tells us. Law of equimarginal utility tells us when we go to the market for making purchases, how should we spend our money to get maximum satisfaction. We are going to definitely going to buy different goods when you are going to market for buying. Let's say we are going to going to the market for buying different goods. Their prices might be same or they might be different. In both the cases, this particular law is going to tell us how we should allocate our money between different goods, how much of which good we need to buy to maximize our satisfaction. So let's study them one by one, but first let's study their assumptions. Assumptions of this cardinal utility analysis. Before studying the consumer behavior according to this approach, we need to make some assumptions. Utility is measurable in terms of utils. It is just like a unit. As your weight can be measured in terms of kilograms, pounds, utility can be measured in terms of utility. Utility from an apple, let's say, is 40, from a car is 1 lakh, from a bike is 10,000. This is how we can give a number to the satisfaction we get by consuming different goods. We can give a number to all the things we consume, and the unit is utils. Just like the unit of your weight measurement is kg, your height measurement is meter, centimeter, inches, fits. Similarly, satisfaction unit is utils. Marginal utility of money is constant. What it means is there are two cases. First one is gain of 1000 rupees, second one is loss of 1000 rupees. Let's say you have zero income, your pocket money is zero, you're entirely dependent on your parents, and I give you 1000 rupees. You're going to get some satisfaction, let's say 100 utils. The satisfaction you get by this first 1000 rupee note that I gave you is 1000 rupees, is 100 utils. Okay, let's see your income is 1 lakh rupees per annum or per month, and I give you 1000 rupees more. This assumption says you are going to get satisfaction of 100 utils. Okay, so as you can see, even if you have zero income or 1 lakh income, if I gave both of these people 1000 rupees, or the single person in both the cases 1000 rupees, the satisfaction they are going to get from this extra 1000 rupees is going to be equal. In the case of loss of 1000 rupees, let's say I ask you to spend 1000 rupees when your per annum when your monthly income is 1 lakh rupees, and I ask you to, let's say you have 1 lakh rupees and I ask you to spend 1000 rupees. You feel dissatisfied after spending because now you have only 99,000 rupees left. And when you have only, in the second case, when you have only 1000 rupees with you and I ask you to spend it entirely, and then you will be having no money. According to this assumption, the dissatisfaction you get by spending 1000 rupees when you have 1 lakh rupees, and spending 1000 rupees when you have only 1000 rupees, the dissatisfaction you are going to get in both the cases is going to be same, either in case of spending or in gaining. If I give you equal amount of money, no matter what your income was, no matter what your amount of money you have right now, the satisfaction in case of gain, the dissatisfaction in case of loss is going to be equal. Independent utilities. Let's say you, after having a cup of tea, you get a satisfaction of 100 utils. What this says is the satisfaction of this 100 was because of sugar, which gave you 30 utils, tea, which gave you 20 utils, and the milk that was there in the tea, which gave you 50 utils. Even if you consume this tea, you get, if you consume this tea, you get 100 utils, and even if you consume these things separately, you will get a total satisfaction of 100 utils. This is what independent utilities mean. Introspection method. We here think ourselves of how people are going to respond in different situations. We are not going to ask them. We think. Alright, we think by sitting on our tables that how people generally respond. This is called as introspection method. There are some important terms that we need to understand before going any further. Marginal utility. Utility is, as I said, satisfaction. Marginal utility is the extra satisfaction we get by consuming one more unit of a good. It can be anything. Let's say we consumed an apple and we got satisfaction of 30 utils, and this 30 utils is our marginal utility. Total utility is the sum of all the marginal utilities. It is the total satisfaction from all the units of a goods consumed. Let's say we ate 3 apples one after the another. First one gave us 40 utils, second one 30, third one 20. So the total satisfaction we got was 90 utils. This total satisfaction we got by consuming all the units is called as total utility. So let's move to the first law. What this says is the utility we get from an additional unit of a good. That means marginal utility reduces as we have more and more of the good. As the quantity of the good we have increases, the marginal utility reduces. That means there is a negative relationship. How do we understand it now? There is one more thing we need to, let's understand it by example. There are two types of explanations for it. One is tabular and one is graphical. Both of them are related. In case of tabular, let's say the units of good we are talking about here is chocolate, and these chocolates are all the same. 1 2 3 4 6 5 6 7 8, we have 8 units of chocolate, we have 8 chocolates with us, and these are all the same, and we are consuming them continuously, one after the another. We are not waiting for some time. Okay, there is no gap between consumptions. So let's say I gave you first one chocolate, you get a satisfaction of 20 utils. I gave you another, your satisfaction is still there, but it is comparatively lesser than the fun you had, the happiness you had from the first chocolate. Let's say I give you one more, its satisfaction is there, it will give you some satisfaction, but definitely lesser than the earlier one. Let's say I keep on giving you the fourth and fifth, your extra satisfaction you get from the fourth unit is there, but it is comparatively lesser than the earlier ones, which is true in every case. If I keep on giving you chocolates, your first chocolate is going to give you maximum satisfaction, second one slightly lesser, third one slightly lesser, because your need for chocolate, your urge for chocolate is getting completed, your hunger for chocolate is getting fulfilled. As you have lesser and lesser desire for chocolate now, because you have more and more for it, you have already had 5, so you do not want any more. That's why your marginal satisfaction from that unit reduces. Let's say I gave you sixth one, it gave you zero satisfaction, you didn't feel happy, you didn't feel bad. Now let's say I ask you to eat one more, you have started feeling painful, your stomach is aching now, you're feeling nauseated. Let's say I ask you to eat one more directly after the seventh, and you didn't wait for any time. Now you feel like going to a hospital taking a medicine urgently, because it has given you a negative satisfaction of 16. Alright. So now if we keep on adding these things, if we consume 1 unit, our total satisfaction will be equal to the marginal one. The total satisfaction by consuming these 2 units will be equal to 20 plus 18 equal to 38. When by third is equal to 53. 38 plus 15 is equal to 33. 53. By the total satisfaction of 4 units, 53 plus 11 equal to 64. That's how this is a cumulative total. This is just the sum of marginal utilities. Okay, as you can see, when the marginal satisfaction or marginal utility at the sixth chocolate was 0, the total satisfaction was maximum. And when you felt little nauseated after eating the seventh one, you got a negative satisfaction of 8, your total satisfaction reduced from maximum. When I asked you to eat one more, your total satisfaction reduced further, because you get a minus 16 satisfaction from the 8th unit. So you can see here clearly, as the quantity demanded or the quantity that I gave you increases, the marginal utility or the marginal satisfaction that you had reduced. That means there is a negative relationship. Marginal utility decreases as the quantity increases. Negative relationship. Okay, if we plot this table here, let's say first one here is quantity and marginal utility, the second column. If we plot here, we can see directly a negative relationship between, as the quantity increases, the marginal utility reduces. There is a negative relationship between marginal utility and the quantity. And at one point on the sixth unit, the marginal utility becomes 0. And in the second graph, if we plot this third column and first column, we get this graph. As our consumption increases, slowly our total utility increases, and when the marginal utility reduces to 0, our total utility is maximum. And when we start getting negative satisfaction, our total utility starts reducing to 6244, as you can see from here. Alright, but at this point the satisfaction was 70. So this is what it says: the utility we get from an additional unit of good, that is marginal utility, reduces. That means a negative relationship as we have more and more of the good. This is what I told you with this example. It is applicable in the case of every single thing, not just chocolate. Let's say I gave you a car. First car gave you a satisfaction of 10 lakh utils. I gave you a same car just after the first one. Your satisfaction will definitely increase. Your total satisfaction will increase, but the satisfaction you get from the second car is 9 lakh utils. Third one, 7 lakh utils. As you can see, it is applicable in case of every single thing that you are going to have. Every single thing. but there are some things where it is not applicable. I'll be talking about them later on. Marginal utility curve and demand curve, these are both the same. What is marginal utility? Let's say the satisfaction you got from consuming your first chocolate was 20 utils. So this is the satisfaction you got. So in any case, this is the maximum amount of money that you are going to pay the shopkeeper for giving you this chocolate. This is the maximum price a consumer is ready to pay for 1 unit of chocolate. So you are not going to pay, we don't pay price more than the satisfaction we get. Generally, we buy things because they give us more satisfaction than their price. Alright, it doesn't happen the other way. If we are going to buy a car for 20 lakh rupees and it is giving us a satisfaction of only 15 lakh utils, there is no way we are going to buy that. But if the price of the car is 15 lakh rupees and it gives us satisfaction of 20 lakh utils, then definitely we can buy. But the maximum price for something we are going to pay, the maximum price for a consumer is ready to pay for 1 unit of chocolate or any good is equal to the marginal utility. He is not going to pay a price that is more than the marginal satisfaction he gets. This is very clear. So for the first unit, the maximum price he is ready to pay is 20. For the second unit, the maximum price he is ready to pay is 18, because the maximum satisfaction he gets is 18 utils. For the third unit, 14. For the fourth, maybe 10. For the sixth unit, he does not want to pay anything because he gets a satisfaction of 0 utils. See, price can never be greater than marginal utility. Can never be greater than marginal utility they get. Alright, so as you can see, these are the price estimates for different units of chocolates we have consumed. What we have is quantity 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we have price 20, 18, 14, 10, 0. So we have a quantity and price relationship, that to a negative one. This is what a demand curve is. A demand curve is a relationship between quantity and price, and indeed a negative relationship. That means as the quantity demanded increases, the price that we are ready to pay for that thing reduces. Okay, or we can say it the other way: as the price of something reduces, the quantity demanded of it increases. Okay, let's say the prices of cars reduce in the market, the quantity demanded for it increases everywhere as more and more people are ready to buy them. So marginal utility curve can also be called as a demand curve. This is what I wanted to say from this complete slide. Marginal utility curve and demand curve are essentially the same. Practical importance. Why do we study this law of diminishing marginal utility? As I said, as I told you, marginal utility curve and demand curve are same. We are studying a water diamond paradox. That means why the prices of water are so low and the prices of diamond are so high. This is what we are going to study. This is what it is called as water diamond paradox. When water is so crucial for our life on this planet and diamonds are not important at all, so why the prices of water are so low and the prices of some unimportant thing is so high? Let's understand this. As you can see, the demand for water is definitely very high. Marginal utility of water and demand curve of water are same. It is very high. Very high means it is supposed to be on the right, whereas the demand curve of diamond is low. The total demand in terms of quantity is low as compared to water, far lesser than as compared to water. And as we know, water quantity demanded is very high, and as we know, marginal utility and quantity demanded have a negative relationship. When the quantity demanded is very high, marginal utility is very low. Whereas the diamond quantity demanded is low, so the marginal utility is going to be very high. Therefore, as we know, marginal utility and price are directly related. If something gives us high marginal utility, high extra satisfaction, its price is high. If something gives us low extra satisfaction, its price is low. Therefore, as the marginal utility of water is low, its price is very low. And as the marginal utility of diamond is very high, its price is very high. But in the case of water, the surplus satisfaction is very high, as we pay very less price for it. But in case of diamond, the surplus utility, the surplus satisfaction, even if after paying the price, is very low. Surplus utility means, let's say you bought a car for 10 lakh rupees and it gave you a satisfaction of 15 lakh utils. So this extra 5 lakh utils is your surplus satisfaction. In case of diamonds, you generally pay a very high price, so the gap is not very high. But in case of water, the price we pay is very low and the satisfaction we get by consuming one glass of water is very high. So that's why there is surplus satisfaction. Let's understand the same by this graph. As I told you, this is the demand curve of water and this is the demand curve of diamond. The quantity demanded of diamonds is very low, that's why the price we are going to pay for them is very high. You can see it from it. Whereas the quantity demanded of water is very high, and therefore the price we pay for the unit of water is very low. In case of diamond, this is the extra satisfaction. This is the gap that between the satisfaction and the price we pay. But in case of water, this is the extra satisfaction, because the price we pay is very low and the total satisfaction we get is very high. So in case of the surplus utility, in case of water is very high and in case of diamond is very low. Alright, you can simply understand it. As we know, the quantity demanded of water is very high and the quantity demanded of diamond is very low. That's why the marginal utility is very low and the price is very low. As the quantity demanded of water is less, the marginal utility is high and the price is also high. Understood? So let's move. Second practical importance is redistribution of income. Marginal, as in the assumptions I told you, that marginal utility of money is constant. This was the assumption of this particular analysis. But as we know, if we have 1 lakh rupees in our pocket and if we have only 10,000 rupees left in our pocket, if we are asked to spend 1000 rupees, definitely when we are having less money, we are going to feel more pain than in case when we have more money, because in this case we will be having 99,000 rupees left, but here only 9,000 rupees less. So that's why this person, or in this case, we are going to feel higher dissatisfaction. So what it means is, as the quantity of money we have increases, the marginal utility of money also reduces. Okay, as the quantity of money, as we become richer and richer and richer, the extra satisfaction we get by getting extra unit of money reduces. This is the reality. Rich people don't care much about the extra units of money. Let's say, let's understand this by example. As you know now, as the wealth increases, the marginal utility of money income reduces. So in case of redistribution of income, these on this side there are rich people. Let's say this much amount is 1 crore rupees and this much amount is also 1 crore rupees. Here when income is high, there are rich people. Here when income is low, there are poor people. If we take 1 crore rupees from rich and give it to the poor, So the loss of rich is this much, but the gain of poor is this much. So as you can see, redistribution of income by way of taxation and other means, taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor, the total satisfaction of the society increases, because rich people, they don't feel the loss much. They don't feel the loss much, but this 1 crore rupees is of great value to the poor. Also, it helps us in understanding the price determination. We get to know how much price people are ready to pay by knowing their marginal utility. If you know that by if you know that people A, B and C, all of them, if you are offering them a car, all of them get a satisfaction of 10 lakh utils from that car, you cannot price your car more than 10 lakh rupees. You definitely need to price your car at 9 lakh or 8 lakh rupees. This is how we get an idea of how much of satisfaction people get from a particular good. If you are going to charge them more price than that, they're not going to buy. If we are that we need to charge them a little lesser price than their marginal utility so that they buy things. Alright. Household expenditure. How to buy stuff to get maximum satisfaction. This will be talked about in the coming slide, the second law. So let's go to the second law now. This law, that is law of equimarginal utility, tells us that how should we spend our money. Money with us is always cash. We have, our needs are more, but money that we have is less. How we should spend our money so that we get maximum satisfaction from that purchase. Let's understand it by a table. There are two cases in it. First one is, let's say we have a budget of 350 rupees. In first one, all the things that we are going to buy, three chocolates, Dairy Milk, Perk and Ferrero Rocher, maybe all of them have 50 rupees price per unit, and in the second case the price is different. Alright, the price for one is 40 and the price for other is 50 rupees. So how we should spend our money in both the cases so that we get maximum satisfaction? What should be the rule? There should be a thumb rule that this is the way you should spend your money. So let's study. Let's make a table. I ask you to give the marginal utility you will be getting by consuming different units of Dairy Milk, Perk and Ferrero Rocher. There is only 350 rupees we have, so either you can buy only 7 units of any of the chocolates. Let's say I ask you to give the marginal utility of 7 units of Dairy Milk. This is what you gave me. Of Perk, this is what you gave me, and of Ferrero Rocher, this is what you gave me. So now how should we spend this 350 rupees among these three chocolates so that we get maximum satisfaction? By looking at the table, the first unit, we can only buy 7 units. The first unit, we are going how we are going to spend, where we are going to spend the first unit, which chocolate we are going to buy. We are going to buy either of them. Let's say first one is this one we bought because it gave us 10 utils, second one, third one. Now, fourth unit of chocolate, definitely we are going to buy Dairy Milk because it is going to give us a satisfaction of 9 utils. Fifth one, either this or this. Let's say fifth one was this and sixth one was this. And seventh unit, the last 50 rupees we are going to spend on this one because all the other units are going to give us lesser satisfaction than this one. So the total satisfaction from spending 350 rupees is 10 plus 10 plus 10, 30, 39, 39 plus 16, 55, 56 plus 8 is equal to 64. So according to the marginal utilities, we spent our money. So this law says in case of equal prices, we should spend our money when the marginal utility of last units bought of each goods are nearly equal. Marginal utilities of last units, that is the last unit of the Dairy Milk, last unit of Perk and last unit of Ferrero Rocher. The marginal utility of last units bought of each good of all the three should be nearly equal. They can be exactly equal, but they can be nearly equal as possible. Marginal utility of last unit of x is nearly equal to marginal utility of last unit of y and marginal utility of last unit of z. Let's say instead of spending the last 50 rupees here, we bought one more unit of perk. So our total satisfaction would have been 63.9. It would have been high, but not maximum. Alright. So according to the marginal utilities, we need to spend our money. We need to spend our money in such a way that marginal utility of last units bought of each of the goods should be nearly equal. This is the rule in case of equal prices. Alright. Now let's go to the second case. In case of unequal prices, we are talking about two goods. The price of first one is 40 and the price of second one is 50. The marginal utility from first one, we get the let's say we are talking about two goods here, x and y. The marginal utility we get from consuming different units of x and different units of y has been written down here. So how should we spend our money now? First we should find out marginal utility of money expenditure. Marginal utility of money expenditure, that means marginal utility that we get of per rupee spent. What we do is we divide this by the price 40, divided this by price 50. So these are the columns we get. These two columns become these two. Alright, now based on these two columns, we are going to decide how we should spend our money. We should spend our money in such a way that marginal utility of money expenditure or marginal utility per rupee spent in both the cases should be equal in both the cases. So when these things are equal, when we buy 5 units of x and 3 units of y. Understood? At this point, marginal utility of money expenditure or marginal utility per rupee spent is equal in the case of unequal prices. So this is how we maximize our satisfaction. This is the rule that marginal utility of money expenditure should be equal in both the cases. This is how we should spend our money in case of unequal prices to get maximum satisfaction. So the rule here was marginal utility of last unit bought should be nearly equal, and the rule here is marginal utility of money expenditure should be equal. These are the rules given under law of equimarginal utility that helps us maximize our satisfaction from a purchase. Alright, in both the cases, separate prices, equal prices. Okay. Now let's move further. We can understand the same thing. We can plot the same tables in terms of graph. The table 1 where we talked about equal prices and the table 2 where we talked about unequal prices. In case of equal prices, as we know, we just plotted the quantity with marginal utility. There was a downward sloping curve of all of them, Dairy Milk, Perk and Ferrero Rocher. At the point when the marginal utility of all of them were nearly equal, we should consider those quantities. At this point, the units of DM were 3, at this point the unit of Perk was 2, and at this point the units of Ferrero Rocher were 2. And whereas in the case of unequal prices, the third and fourth column, we plotted them against each other. The quant in the these are just two graphs, marginal utility of x divided by price of x and this marginal utility of y divided by price of y against the quantity. We just moved its face. Alright, earlier it was like this and we just moved this face and made it like this. We just combined these two graphs. So what happens is we should buy the quantities when marginal utility of x divided by price of x is equal to marginal utility of y divided by price of y. At this point there will be maximum satisfaction. At this point, how much quantity of x? This much, and this much quantity of y should be bought. by the consumer. This is how they are going to maximize their satisfaction. Alright. Limitations of Marshall's cardinal utility analysis. There are certain limitations. Cardinal measurability of utility. See, the satisfaction we get from different things vary a lot from consumer to consumer. A person A, B, and C, they might attach different utilities, different satisfaction levels with different goods, and it is extremely subjective. In the satisfaction we get from a good, let's say I am a person A, the satisfaction I get from this good varies from different situations, varies in different situations, and it is extremely subjective. That is, there is no scientific basis for it. How can I give a number to something? This is the satisfaction I get until I compare it to a price. If I know the price of a chocolate is 70 rupees, then only I might be able to say that, let's say its price is 70, I get only 50 utils. I might also be doing it deliberately because I wanted, I'm attaching a little lower level of satisfaction to it in the hope that the price of this particular thing will be reduced, because this price is based on utility and utility is based on price. That's why these things are subjective and there is no scientific basis for this. It is extremely difficult to give a number of to the satisfaction we get by consuming different goods, and it varies from person to person, situation to situation. Alright, as I told you, price is dependent on marginal utility. Price in the market is decided based on marginal utility, and marginal utility, most of the consumers will give a satisfaction number based on the price, and they might deliberately reduce the level of satisfaction so that we are getting lesser satisfaction based on the price, just for the hope that its price might reduce in the coming time if we attach a lower level of satisfaction to it. Independent utilities, as I told you in the previous slides, let's say a pen gave us utility, or there was this assumption of independent utilities that the satisfaction we get from a pen, that is equal to 10, is equal to the satisfaction of the plastic body plus the refill. But in real life, if we have just the plastic body, its utility is zero. If we have just the refill, its utility is also zero. When both the things are combined, then only we have some sort of utility. Otherwise, independently, they don't mean anything to us. Constant marginal utility of money. As I told you, in the case of redistribution of income, if we take 1 crore from rich and give 1 crore to that 1 crore to the poor, the loss of satisfaction was lesser than the gain of satisfaction. So this shows that constant marginal utility of money is a myth. Also, let's understand it by one another example. As I told you earlier also, if I have 1 lakh rupees and if I have only 1000 rupees, if I am asked to spend 1000 rupees here and 1000 rupees here, according to the assumption of constant marginal utility of money, the dissatisfaction should be equal. But we know in real life, when I am having 1 lakh rupees, I'll not, my dissatisfaction will be lower than when I am having only 1 lakh 1000 rupees with me and I am asked to spend the same. So this is also a problem here. This was all about your unit of utility theory. Thank you very much. Whatever the doubts you will be having, we'll be taking them up in the coming classes. I hope you have a good time. Thank you.